Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our new Yellowjacket Season 3 discussion. And we, of course, love to piece together various ideas on some of these characters and
Yeah.
what they're really up to. And I think in the wake of this past episode, particularly where we lost Lottie, and I mean an incredibly shocking way, we are now left with, okay, who may be responsible for this, or is there this like big, larger end goal in mind?
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at Walter in this
Mm-hmm.
video because we know from what happened with Kevin that he is absolutely capable of taking someone out
Yeah,
and making someone else take the fall for it. He is very, very good at covering his tracks,
yeah.
making other people responsible for deaths that he is actually responsible for. And so, could he be behind what happened to Lottie? We saw the candles down the stairs, that he knows enough that he can try to pin this on some other people. And what is his motivation? Would it be that he feels bad for Misty, that she's being treated badly, he has feelings for her? Or
Mm-hmm.
tinfoil hat? Is he Melissa's brother and he's on some sort of a revenge tour for her?
It's something that I think we've wondered for a while. Is Walter related to a Yellow Jacket? Ever
Yeah.
since season 2,
Yep.
like that idea started to come together. But now that we know a little bit more about Melissa, and now that we know that Hilary Swank is coming on this show at some point, and
Presumably,
the theory,
where is she?
I know, the theory that's out there, and this has not been confirmed, but that she might be playing Melissa. Now all stuff gets so much more interesting. We're going to dive into all of this. Before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are here throughout all of Yellowjackets Season 3. We will have more reviews, more theories. There is so much exciting stuff that is going on. It feels like the tension, especially in the present, is starting to really get going. And by subscribing, you're also helping to get us to 70,000 subscribers, which is a goal that we are really, really excited and grateful to be reaching.
Yes, we are also covering here Severance, Nine Bodies in a Mexican
Yeah.
Morgue. We've got Survivor here. We have all kinds of other shows here. So hit that subscribe button and stick with us. And if
Yeah.
you want more Yellow Jackets content, as well as exclusive videos on The Pit, which is airing on Max,
Yeah.
and Prime Target, that is airing on Apple TV Plus, you can join our Patreon for more coverage of the shows. And thank you so much to everyone who has.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that.
Yep.
Let's start though, just from a meta point of view here. If we're kind of thinking outside the show for a moment with Walter, I think from the very moment Elijah Wood was cast on this show, I was sitting back and thinking, like, okay, you're not getting Frodo Baggins just for him to be some sort of under the radar, weird character who's just sort of showing up and either being exposition or
Right.
support. Like, there's got to be something bigger here.
Yeah, and I think they're going to want to dive in deeper than just sort of like, oh, we met on this, crime board where
Yeah.
we're both citizen detectives and looking for whatever, that there's got to be something a little bit deeper with him. Is it possible that we just have him here and he's just kind of wild and he's killing people and whatever? Sure, that's a possibility. It is Yellow Jackets, that
Yeah.
can happen. But I feel like this show is a lot smarter than that, and it is a lot more detailed than that. There's a reason that he showed up. There's a reason he showed up in Misty's life
Yeah.
very specifically, and it feels like it's connected to the Yellow Jackets in some sort of way. And it is something that Matt brought up last season in our videos, the idea that he is a relative of one of the Yellow Jackets, and he's there on some sort of a revenge tour or gathering information for some reason. So my feeling is that he is Melissa's brother, cousin, something along those lines, that he's
Yeah.
very close to her, and that for whatever reason she's unable to carry this out, that she wants some sort of revenge. Something happened to her either way back in the woods or when they got back, that
Yeah.
they iced her out, whatever happened, or she's not capable of getting back some sort of control. And he's like, sis, I got you. I'm going to figure it out.
There's a big emotional journey, I think, to track here with Walter because, I mean, he's roughly around the same age as a lot of the Yellow Jackets. So
Right.
that means, maybe there's a year or two difference between him and
Right.
Melissa if they're related. So he would have been in a position where, he's still kind of figuring out who he wants to be in life at the time in which Melissa would have hypothetically come back from the wilderness. And he would have seen then, okay, how broken up and distraught and haunted she is by all of this. And that comes at a point where maybe he is trying to then figure out, okay, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And if a part of that is, oh, I want to get revenge, or I want to have the tools in order to get revenge, then I think he probably is starting to build up some of the skills that we know that he is really good at. Like we've seen that Walter is exceptional at getting information.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tech whiz. He can hack. He can do all of this sort of different stuff. And it does bring me to like one big idea that I'm having right now with them is that this whole, oh, I got this money for insurance thing. Like I'm believing that less and less as time goes on. I think he's been sort of honing his skills of gathering information and doing this for people over time, so that by this point where he's willing and able to carry out this mission with the Yellowjackets, he knows that he can do it. Like he knows that he is capable of it.
Yeah, and there's a darkness in Walter that is also in the Yellow Jacket. So if he is related to a Yellow Jacket, that then kind of makes sense. And
Yeah.
his personality feels very similar to the Melissa that we have seen in the past, where, he is very a people pleaser, and he wants
Yeah.
to, like, he's really trying to gas up Misty to be like, hey, you deserve better. You deserve to be sort of in a position of power. Don't let people treat you like this. And
Mhm.
Melissa's doing that in the past with Shauna too, being like, yeah, you're the person who should be in power. Don't let people treat you like this.
Yeah.
I got your back, sort of thing. Their personalities are very similar, which makes me feel very much like they are related. And Elijah Wood and Hilary Swank, they also look very similar. Like it feels like this is where they're going with this.
And it makes sense if this is where they're going, because if we just want to talk about things from a perspective of trust, like this is really important, because there was an irony in the fact that a lot of us for some time thought, whether it was, Adam Martin or whether it was
Mhm.
Jeff, that like, oh, there may be something really dark and insidious going on with those people. And it turns out not so much the case. Whereas with Walter, he sort of presents himself pretty much from the get-go as this really supportive, sometimes sweet person to Misty. And even when he does what he does at the end of last season, he's doing it through the lens of, oh, I'm protecting you guys. I'm getting this Adam Martin situation cleared up. I'm making sure nobody is coming at you anymore. But the irony in all of that is that he might be doing that just to build so much trust, so that when he actually does start to move forward with his next phase of the plan, like nobody's really going to look at him. Like if Lottie is taken out, like is anybody going to think that Walter is involved or respond? Because he already tried to help the Yellowjackets.
Yeah, because it feels like he knows way more than he's letting on. And the only person that he's really gotten close with is Misty.
Yeah.
And obviously they have a connection because of the crime board and everything that's going on. But at the same time, maybe in the past, Misty is one of the few people that didn't do Melissa dirty. We don't know her
Yeah.
whole story yet. We just know that she's getting very close with Shauna, that they are kind of moving into a position of possible power and what is going on. We don't know how other people might have treated Melissa, and that might be the motivation for Walter, where it's like, okay, these other people did Melissa dirty, but Misty didn't. And we have seen in the past right now that there is kind of this jockeying for power, where it's like, okay, Natalie has been exposed to be like, oh, she knew where Coach was, didn't
Yeah.
tell anybody, was lying about it, was protecting it. Now we've got Shauna, where Melissa's like, yeah, you should be in power. But we also have Lottie over here, who's one with nature, who just naturally has power over Travis and some of the other people there. So Lottie being one of the first people to go would make sense
Yes.
if Walter and Melissa are connected, because if Shauna was the person Melissa really wanted to be in power and really thinks is the person who could be in charge of everything, then Lottie is somebody that needs to go.
Well, the other question that we have to think about with all of this is just that, let's say Melissa, if she's out there in the present, if she does still have any affection at all towards Shauna, or feels like she wants to protect Shauna in some way,
Mhm.
we know that Lottie was stirring up some trouble when it comes to Callie. And if Walter is really good at hacking and information. He might have been able to figure out some of this stuff was going on here. So it was like, okay, we need to take out Lottie before she does something else to disrupt Donna's family, if that's something that really matters a lot. I mean, I just think in general, it's very interesting that Walter is like the person who's just like messaging Misty about Lottie pretty much right away. And it feels almost like that situation where you're responsible for somebody going and you're trying to cover it up. So you're just like, I'm going to act like I'm running in there, really super sympathetic, really, really sweet. So you never think I was ever involved in it.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing, right? We've talked about this idea that Walter's going to take out the rest of the Yellowjackets as motivation because he wants to be with Misty and he
Yeah.
feels I'm dedicated to her. I've proven to her that I'm dedicated to her. She's casting me aside for these friends
Yeah.
who treat her so like trash. And the only way to make it so that she trusts me is to get rid of the friends. The friends have to go. And Lottie might have just been the easiest person to get to first because she's no longer with her group anymore. She's no longer with Shauna and at Shauna's place anymore. She's just kind of on her own with no protection.
Think what's happening with him, and this would be my, I guess, my emotional tinfoil hat
Oh.
about all of this, is that Walter may be an adversarial character, but it doesn't mean necessarily that Walter is totally bad. He might be somebody who is really, really damaged because he might have been, his sister may have been his best friend, and she comes back, she's this totally different person.
Broken.
Yeah, he's broken, he's suffering, he's may have taken on this responsibility of getting vengeance because he wants it for her and he believes that she wants it and he knows he has the skills and the capability to pull it off, but he may also still have feelings for Misty at the same time where he got into this thinking mostly it was a job, it was a way to fulfill this, but over time it's changing. He's getting more invested in it, and because he's getting more invested in it, maybe things are starting to go a little bit not according to plan. That maybe this was about, oh, I need to get information, so I, Melissa, may be doing X, Y, or Z. Like, this is another crazy hypothetical here. But what if Melissa didn't even necessarily want bodies to hit the ground? Because I'm just sort of thinking, well, why is Hilary Swank showing up in the first place if she is playing Melissa? Maybe it is because she's just like, okay, well, I gotta show up now, Walter, because things are not going according to plan anymore.
Yeah, we don't know what type of shape Melissa's in. Is her mental health in good shape? Is it in bad shape? Is she physically in good shape? Is she in bad shape? We just don't know anything about this character or if this character is even there. But
Yeah.
if she is and she's not doing well, then that would be a good motivation for Walter. But if she is doing well
Yeah.
and she's explained to Walter everything, it's like, you're my brother, my best friend, my
Yeah.
cousin, whoever you are to me, and they've all made this pact that they're not going to tell anyone, but she does decide to tell him because she just needs someone to bounce it off with, that the rest of the Yellowjackets, nobody's talking to each other, and she's just like, I can't handle it. Like, there's a lot of trauma that's come with what we did and what happened. I need to tell somebody. And Walter's like, I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with what happened to you. I'm
Yeah.
not okay with any of this. Don't worry, I got you. I'm going to take care of it. And Melissa's like, well, please don't do that. Like, it
Yeah.
could be that she's on this other side where the brother Walter is like, oh, I'm going to try to take care of everything
Yeah.
for you. And she's like, oh no, I need to be able to like warn people what's going on. And maybe that's why we've got this tape that's gone to Shauna's house with the symbol on it,
Yeah.
to try to warn people about Walter and what's going on.
I think that also does make a heck of a lot of sense here because I think one of the, I don't want to say morals or messages, but one of the themes I think of this season so far is that it's not just about the survivors, but it's also about how what happened to them is impacting other people. Like,
Yep.
we're seeing that so much with Callie at this point, who's had this much larger role. I mean, we're certainly seeing it with Jeff. We've seen it with Jeff for a rather long time. And while we don't necessarily have Van and Ty and a lot of other people associated with them on screen this season, but we're also seeing how the experiences of what they went through out there impacted each other to the point that there are these theories now that, oh, did Ty do something to get rid of Lottie, thinking it was going to prolong Van's life? And I don't subscribe to that right now, just because it feels like it's too convenient, and
It's
it
so obvious.
yeah, it just feels like that's way, way too obvious, where it's much more interesting that this idea of, okay, if Melissa is still alive in this world, there's got to be a reason why nobody has talked about her, but there
Mhm.
also then has to be a reason as to why she's going to come up now out of the blue, and the most reasonable explanation for that is either she is trying to assist her brother Walter with what he is trying to do, or she's trying to stop her brother Walter from what he is trying to do because things are getting too out of hand.
There's one thing that I'm very curious about. If there are other adult Yellow Jackets that are around,
Yeah.
now that it's been 2 seasons, this group together has gone through a lot. Now, where originally they were like, okay, we're all not going to talk. We're not going to talk
Yeah.
about what happened. We're not going to get together. Now that people are dying, the wilderness is calling, it's very surprising to me that not one of them in this group is like, we got to find out, we got to find the rest of the survivors.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be brought in, either if it's like Ty's like, oh, because we need more sacrifices,
Yeah.
or they're like, oh, we need to, figure out what's going on together. Somebody's trying to kill us off. We all got to get together so we can have a plan.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm kind of surprised that there's not one of them that has been like, let's find out what Melissa's up to.
It's a very good point. I kind of think that now, after what happened with Lottie, you kind of do need to get the band back together to
Yeah,
a
you
certain
do.
extent. You, at the very least, you have to warn them that other people may be involved. There's one last thing about Walter that I've always just found a little bit suspicious. I guess at the time it was a little bit sweet, but as time has gone on here, this idea that he doesn't seem to be that directly interested in what Misty went through out there, like for somebody who is as curious as he is about everything
Mhm.
else, to not be that curious. I mean, yeah, it's sweet and wholesome, this idea of, oh, I don't want your past to define you. I want you to be as you are, but you are literally looking into every other thing known to mankind. So it's just like that has always stuck out to me.
If he is somebody who's like, oh, I'm not interested in your past, it doesn't define you because I already know, like my sister already told me, or I already
Yeah.
figured it out, that makes more sense.
It does. And let's hope that we get answers on this season. I mean, Elijah Wood's already been around for a season and a half.
Yep.
So at this point, I don't know how much longer you can drag this particular mystery out.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think is really going on with Walter? Is he just what he seems? Is he a family member of Melissa or somebody else? Let us know in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more Yellow Jackets. Also, check out our coverage of Severance, The White Lotus. Lots of great stuff happening here, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description, and we are covering there Prime Target on Apple TV Plus, The Pit on Max. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We will see you here next time.